All right, Kristen's math friends, I hope yesterday went well for you. We are back for our second online math lesson. It's lesson 7.10 today. So you should have, as usual, your math journal, a pencil, and a piece of paper. If you don't have those things, hit pause and come right back. All right, starting with our slate work, which you'll put on your paper, I am going to show you a few fractions, and I want you to write down on your paper whether the shaded part of the fraction that you see is greater than or less than 1/2. Does the shaded part show greater than or less than 1/2? Let's look at the first one. Look at this picture and look at the shaded part. Write down whether that shaded part is greater than or less than 1/2. It is less than. That shaded fraction was 1/4, and 1/4 is less than 1/2. All right, let's look at the second one. You're deciding whether this shaded portion is less than or greater than 1/2, and write down that number sentence. Is this shaded portion less than or greater than 1/2? That shaded portion was 3/4, and 3/4 is greater than 1/2. 3/4 is greater than 1/2. All right, one more. Look at this shaded part. Decide whether this shaded part is greater than or less than 1/2. Write down your number sentence. Was that shaded part greater than or less than 1/2? That shaded part was 2/3, and 2/3 is greater than 1/2. All right, you can put your paper aside and look on the screen for this number story. It says, use your fraction circles, which I will show you fraction circles in a moment. I know you don't have yours. Use your fraction circles to solve this problem. Lucas eats 5/6 of a round quesadilla. Mara eats 7/8 of a round quesadilla. That's the same size. Who has the larger leftover piece of quesadilla? So I'm going to read it again, and I want you to pay attention to this word leftover piece. Lucas eats 5/6 of a round quesadilla, and Mara eats 7/8 of the same size round quesadilla. Who has the larger leftover piece of quesadilla? Let's look at what that would look like with our fraction circles. So you can see this fraction circle is broken into 6 equal parts. I'm going to break them up. This quesadilla is broken into 8 equal parts. So this is Lucas. Oh, gotta get my writing tool. This is Lucas. This is Mara. When we say that Lucas ate 5/6, he ate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this piece right here is left over. Let me erase that mark. This piece is left over. Mara ate 7/8. Let me get my writing tool. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And this last piece is what she has left over. When you compare Lucas's leftover piece to Mara's leftover piece, who has the bigger leftover piece of quesadilla? Who has the bigger leftover piece of quesadilla? It is Lucas. So what was left of his quesadilla? 1/6 was left of his quesadilla. 1 right here, out of 6 6 total. Mara had 1/8 left of her quesadilla. She had this one out of all 8. And we can see that 1/6, Lucas's leftover piece, was bigger than 1/8. So we can write the number sentence, 1/6 is greater than 1/8. We can also look at the part that they ate. Let's go back and look. Lucas, remember, he ate 5/6, so he ate these. And Mara ate 7/8. She ate this much of her quesadilla. Wonder who ate more quesadilla? Who ate more quesadilla? Mara ate more quesadilla, which means that the amount she ate, 7/8, is greater than, more than 5/6. All right, I would like you to turn to your journal page 243. 243. It says modeling equivalent fractions. It says, you can read at the top of your page, name a fraction that is equivalent or equal to 2/3. You may use your fraction tools to help. So this is where you might want to get on to the e-toolkit, or let me also tell you that journal page 229, I'll write it down for you. Journal page 229, if you flip back, is another great resource for finding equivalent fractions. Go ahead and take a moment to write down right here an equivalent fraction for 2/3. An equivalent fraction for 2/3 would be 4/6. If you didn't write 4/6, go ahead and write it in. And now we're going to show how 2/3 is equal to 4/6 on number lines. Then we will show it on fraction strips, and at the bottom of this page, we'll show it on fraction circle pieces. First, let's look at the number lines. You see 2 number lines from 0 to 1. This first number line, since we're really trying to show 2/3, we are going to break into 3 equal parts. So best you can. You now have 3 equal parts on this number line. This would be 1/3, and this is 2/3. The next number line, since we said 2/3 is equal to 4/6, we're going to break into 6 equal parts. To break it into 6 equal parts, I'm going to start by breaking it into 3, and each of those in half will give us 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 equal parts. And I can label 4/6 and see that 2/3 is equivalent to or lines up with 4/6. Let's come down to the fraction strips. Again, we're going to show 2/3 being equal to 4/6. On your first fraction strip, you would want to break it into, of course, 3 equal parts as best you can. And we would label them just like we've been doing. 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. And then if I wanted to shade 2/3, I could shade in 2 of those thirds. Then the fraction strip underneath, we're going to break into 6ths and show 4/6. So again, I'm going to break the fraction strip first into thirds, and then each of those thirds gets broken in half to make 6ths. I would label these 1/6, 1/6, 1/6, 1/6, and 1/6. And then I could shade 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and you can see that the shaded amount is equal on both fraction strips. All right. Let me get rid of this writing. And come down and look at our fraction circle pieces, the last thing on this page. Let's do that together as well. If I wanted to break this first fraction circle into thirds, because remember we're showing 2/3 is equal to 4/6, I would break this into 3 equal parts by kind of making a peace sign. And then I could shade in 2 of those thirds. 1, 2. And then over here on my other circle, I want to break it into sixths. So I'd break it into thirds, and then each of those thirds gets broken again in half. It does not have to be perfect, friends. All right, and then if I shaded 4 of those sixths, I would say 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can see that the shaded part for 2/3 is the same as the shaded part for 4/6. 2/3 is equal to 4/6. All right, if you need time to finish this journal page, go ahead and hit pause and finish up. But when you're ready, go ahead and flip the page to journal page 244. It says, justifying fraction comparisons. At the top, I'm going to read the directions and you can follow along in your book. It says, use fraction circles, fraction strips, and fraction number lines to solve. Use at least 2 different fraction tools to show that each number sentence is true. Sketch pictures to show what you did. All right, so you may, again, use page, make sure, 229 to help you determine equivalent fractions. Flip back to journal page 229 and then show, just like we showed on the page before this, either with number lines, fraction strips, or fraction circles, how you know that the 2 fractions you wrote are equivalent. And then down for number 2, write one fraction is greater than another fraction. Just like our number story at the beginning of this lesson, we said that 1/6 was greater than 1/8. And then you would show that also. You could pick other fractions, but you have to make sure that whatever fraction you list first is greater than the fraction you list second. So today, I'd like you to go ahead and finish this journal page 244 on your own. Then go ahead and do math boxes 7.10, and then, or maybe later today, HomeLink 7.10. When you're finished with your math journal work, please have an adult look it over and help you with any questions you have. Again, today's work is journal page 244, math boxes 7.10, and HomeLink 7.10. Good luck, friends.